it this way. If I do it this way, you can hear me. Hey, use that wasn't. Hey, I was saying, John, have a good night, man. Thank you for stopping, and I really appreciate chilling. Gotta run around on Destiny. Let's see what I get up to. Always a pleasure. Hey, yeah. Thanks, Lord Zenrix. I know you're on YouTube watching. Appreciate it. What's going on? Surprise drop this late. I feel like this is late for everybody, and I'm like, I just got my days. At least streaming wise. uh, yeah, I'm thinking they updated this, and for some reason it's not registering. Oh, let's get to work. We're gonna look for now, and we'll play together soon. That'd be awesome, dude. Looking forward. I didn't hop on sooner. It turned into like, oh, just cook. Wait, gotta clean the dishes. Then from dishes, gotta clean up the counter after I cook. Oh, I'm never gonna play with John at this moment. This makes me. Honestly. And sometimes I'm awake at night and the mic goes in and out. Goes in and out? Maybe I need to fix my settings on. Because I have a few filters. Still lowered a little bit. Just tell me if this is better than I. Because still cutting in and out. Oh, why? It's probably because I'm not talking loud enough. Probably have the threshold too high. Probably should try. So, this is me right now, just talking normal. Is it okay? Still doing it? I might have to mess with this. See, remove. Still cutting it out. You're making sure you're waiting for the, whatever. I'll just remove it all. Just remove it all. Forget it. How's that going right now? Okay. Well, hopefully it's not cutting out on in and out now. Hope that's not it. You know what it is though? I just noticed that my sound isn't going. Um, see, yeah, it's still going in and out, or yeah, it's better. It's working better now. Okay, I put some filters on to try to kind of filter the background noise, or if there's any loud noises, or not loud noises, but like fans going and stuff. I was trying to cut that down, but obviously I'm still an amateur and I need to go back and fix it out. Hey, babe. The flip flop is for the door. Let's see. I can't hear the game very well though. Probably have it pretty low at the moment. Yeah, just have it really low. Well, let me know if there's any more issues with my audio. That'd be amazing. Cause I'm all full of issues, mental and physical. Okay. Go back to preschool, my dude. What's up, Lyric? Man, it's good to see you. It's like Lyric. Oh. Go to preschool, man. I need to go to a lot of school. Preschool will not get me, Lyric. They don't understand how the way my brain works, alright? You're judging me over here, man. Let's see. Let's do some control. We got it. Oh, Lyric, my dude. Did you ever answer my Discord about your niece's, our nephew's name? Super happy to hear that you've become an uncle. Uncle me. Here. I feel like I usually put my mic a little bit closer, and I'll usually actually be the one school that actually does get you. Ouch! Lyric with the burns. But man, you could go to preschool and they still wouldn't understand you. They have to send you back to the Stone Age. You're gonna have to learn all this, clay tablets and stuff. And then even then, you just be painting with your hands, man. Oh, man. Don't mind me. It's like I slept until like 12 or 1, but I feel like I just been up since like 7 this morning. Which you wouldn't think that would be bad, but I'm just crazy. Don't mind me, alright? Oof. Yeah, sorry. Sorry for all the cracking. Some people probably don't like that. But, dude, what you guys have been up to? I know John's going to sleep, so thanks for the lurk, man. Lyric, what are you up to, man? Tell me what's going on. And then Zenorix, how are you? Your kids driving you nuts yet? And then, I switched over to OBS, so I've been having some issues. I thought I had a better understanding of how the broadcast system works, but I know nothing Jon Snow is what it's turning out to be. So I know I might switch back. We'll see. Cause I was hoping that OBS would be a little bit easier since I've gained more of my knowledge, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Yo, check out this guy's ship. He has like plants growing on it. Like it was just either sitting forever or he was like, "Here, dude, let me just grow plants on top." I'm okay. Thanks for asking, Lyric. I don't know if you're missing some of my words or something, man, but talking too fast. And just respond to the Discord. Oh, bro. I would check it, but I'll figure it out later. I mean, bro. You're slow enough that they're gonna send you back to the Stone Age and have you paint with your hands. Slow much. I mean, you are trained though. I mean, it takes a little bit for you to get the speed. You know, I'll give you that. I'll give you that much. I'm almost called you trained. Lurk. How's your wife, by the way? You mean Sam, my not waifu? You mean? Ah, crap. Come on.
Enemy claims zone C.
Let's see who's getting this.
Zone A captured.
Oh, apparently I suck at aiming. Oh, from the back. Wife. Sam's fine. She actually just went for a walk and she's, I think she's gonna lay down. Why does my FPS look slow? I feel like I'm having a little stutter. Oh, you freaking kidding me? Seriously? Oops. So, I suck at playing with a keyboard. Just so you know. How dare she go sleep down? Lyric, I don't know what to say there, man. You know, everybody needs their space sometimes. And I'm gonna die. Oh, man. Sorry. But, you know, thank you guys for stopping in. It's freaking amazing. Ooh, rip. Yeah, apparently I forgot how to play. Okay, well, that's how you play, guys. That's how you make the big plays. I disagree for her. Disagree, force her in the stream. No, I'm not gonna force it in the stream. That's like saying, Lurk, I'm gonna force you to come and, you know, ride my train all night long. Alright? This hype train. Woohoo! Yeesh. That turn on this. Oh crap! I saw he had a sword at the last second. I was like, oh. I'm okay with this. Why are you? Why are you? Oh, you're okay. Nah, you're okay with what I said. You got someone who's AFK at the moment. Ah, freaking nice. You know what? I like to say I'm a pro gamer, but I'm just a. Oh, so okay, now let's zoom. What's all these keys? What is all these keys? Tell me, someone help me. Tell me what these keys are. Okay, let's see. That throws that. Okay, that's my melee. What's my melee at? What are we doing with my melee here? That's my super. That's that. Oh, apparently I was just standing next to someone. Don't play on PC, sorry. I know you don't. Wait, you play Destiny 2? Did we have this conversation? Why do I feel like we had this conversation and I don't remember this conversation? You got some explaining to do. Oh, come on. I must had him. I play both Destiny 1 and 2, but on PS4. I know, I'm about to go back to my controller, to be honest. So. Let's see what we got. Nope. But I kind of like the feel of the keyboard. It's kind of nice. Dude jumped like right over him. Alright, well, he decided to disappear. Oop. Dang it. Aha, he got mowed down behind me. I'm so mnemonic? Medieval? I don't know.
Zone B lost.
Don't mind me, guys. I will just stay in my quiet zone here. Just getting killed. There's no point in killing me. I'm just here to be cannon fodder, alright? Up. Where the f did it go? Oh, there he is. Oh, I need to get all the headshots and then I get there. I might improve through the night. We'll see. I feel like that's dodge. I hate that it does backwards. That's C. That's okay. I know the Q is supposed to be my grenade, and I just watched someone die. That's scary. Freaking ness. Oh no. Oh, I still got the shutdown because he ran into my grenade. I think the word you're looking for is magnificent. Yes, very magnificent. So largely magnificent that they can't even beat me in this game. Oh, dude, he threw a grenade. That followed me. I can't remember what those called. Alright, I'm so in Apex like mode when I'm playing right now that I forget how to even crouch. I'm just kidding. I know how to crouch somewhere. It's somewhere. It's one of these buttons. Oh crap! Oh, it was a bow. Oh, it was a bow. Oh, it was a bow. Dang it! Oh, whoa! I survived that. I survived that. Guys, I survived. oh crap! I didn't survive that one. Probably should be running around with actual like teammates. You know what I mean? Apparently, I'm trying to play this like I'm a one-man wolf pack. Oh. Why are they shooting the metal? By the way, you can't shoot through this. I've tried. It sucks. You can see, but you can't shoot. Oh, I forgot I switched to this. Oh, he's like, fuck no. Well, okay. I didn't shoot anybody, but I have you know, I survived. Oh, come on. Oh, was this close? I was so close. Crouch, shift, control C. I will find out. Yeah, you're right. Yay. I might have to switch that though, because I'm special. And Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll do. I'll do it. I'll do okay. I'll do okay. I think I'll get it. Aha! There we go. I can slide. Watch this, guys. Watch. Woo! Sliding. Sliding in DMs. Man, Lyric, have you seen the new Call of Duty? I want to get it so bad. So freaking bad. I just jumped off the map. Oh, what the freaking heck am I doing? Okay, see, slide into that pistol. Pretty much, you know. Because, you know, what else is we gonna do, right? You're not sliding in, then you're sliding out, right? Oh, whoa. Oh, I murdered myself. Yep, I'm pretty big to Call of Duty. So have you been playing? Because I can't wait for the buy it. I've been so broke that buying it right now is like impossible for me. I'm sad because I might not, when I get paid, I might not even be able to get it, but oh well. Anyways, I've been watching some of it. I played the beta when it came out and it was amazing. I'm so addicted right now. And I was playing on PC, which for me is pretty new. I played the beta. I own the game due to my brother, but I haven't played it yet. Because he's been playing it? Oh, you know, you've just been busy with other things. Dude, kick your brother off and take the game, man. Come on. Then stream it so I can watch it. And then I can sit there laughing. I'm watching this other streamer. I give Big Juicy a shout out, but he's been playing COD. And he plays Fortnite too, but he started playing COD and he just dies left and right. He was so excited. I'm like, this is how I'm gonna feel when I start playing COD. But he got like 23 kills to like 0 deaths or something ridiculous. He's playing it a lot, yep, and we can both play at the same time. No need to kick him off. Okay, well fine. If you don't have to kick him off, but I mean, just kick him off anyways. It's your brother, right? Is your brother younger or older than you, man? Ooh, I ranked up. The big cheese now. Got the big dick energy. Also would say I'm decent at COD, so poof, just can't stream due to my poor ass internet. Oh, I'm sorry, man. We'll just replace your internet. And maybe your parents, and we'll just place you in a new home. Younger? He's younger? Gotcha. Okay. Ooh. Sorry, I'm all cracking and everything. Everything is just like Rice Krispies right now. It's just pop, 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 pop. All the guns. Oh, so you need to give me a new anime to watch, bro. Because I started watching Hero Academia since it started up. And it looks great so far. I haven't seen the new episodes, so don't spoil it for me. So help me, Lyric. And then Seo started up again. I'm not really happy with Seo right now. Not really happy at all. And then what was I watching? What was I watching that I can't remember? Oh, Dr. Stone. My DL is at 5 MB and upload is like 0.5. I think it's amazing. So yeah, in Academia, it's Hero Academia. Anime, yeah. What about anime? I was talking. Oh, sorry. Lord Zenrix. Sorry. Zenrix on YouTube. She says, anime? Yes. I'm watching anime, Zenrix. Excuse me. So, and Lyric, don't freaking say anything about the running out of the house. You know, guys, think smart. I already had to replace the computer, so I might as well not replace the window, right? Also, Dr. Stone is good. Watching everything you are currently. Okay. I don't know about Dr. Stone right now, because that was like the biggest, like, loophole I was trying to figure out. Right, unless they're playing it off differently. So, Seo's not so boring now, but I just dislike the hell out of Asuna. Oh, hold on. At Funimation, I don't know. Yes, I like animes, Lord Zenrix. It's fine. We don't usually talk about anime a lot. It's fine. Yeah, no, I'm definitely in the anime. Lyric knows. Okay, we're just gonna knife these guys, and then we're gonna get out alive. It sounds good. All right. Told you, guys will get out alive. This is happening. Okay. Oh man, Seo's so boring. Yeah, I don't really like the Seo. I mean, it's good, but it's not like as exciting as it was. They lost that energy from the first season, unfortunately. Even Sam agrees. Sam's like, Seo is not the Seo that used to be Seo. Yes, I said that. What are you gonna do about it? The Seo is not the Seo that you think you know Seo. Say that 5 times fast. The Seo that you not know Seo. Seo fast. Fast Seo. Oh, freaking. Bite my tongue. Do you want recommendations then? I mean, I'll take some recommendations. Take some older ones or something like that. It takes a while to get. Lord Zenric says it takes a while to get in the Dr. Zone. I know, I got into Dr. Stone. So, you guys seen the new episode of Dr. Stone, right? The one where his father and his colleagues go down to Earth, and of course they crash land. Oh, sorry, spoiler, guys. Anyways, they crash, and a few of the things just had some huge loopholes. Huge motherfucking loopholes. I'm like, why did you leave so many loopholes? Like, why? Like, where they landed was technically not the main island, but Sankyu was on the main island. So you're telling me that they left the island that they were at and went to the main island at some time? And I'm like, why? Nope, no spoilers? Okay, yeah, well, I'm explaining why. Don't think I've seen the newest one, so please refrain. Sorry, Lurk. I shut up. I don't really miss. I don't think I'm mess with too much, to be honest. Okay. Oh, you serious? Oh, you can't freaking serious, girl. What's the heart for? Why? Why what? Why do I not like Dr. Stone? Because I do enjoy Dr. Stone. I just do not like the plot hole they freaking put in the damn show. Hey, I was still shooting. You freaking dick. Alright, so I just get kills randomly, guys. I hope you know I just kind of button mashing, because right now, that's what it is. Check out Shinchiko Yoshu Kono Yoshikaga. Yeah, you just did all that, so I would fail at saying Japanese on stream, right? That's all I see, Lyric. You making fun of me at the moment. This is how our relationship ends. I dive laughter from it. My humor must be whack. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, what type of whack are we talking about? Because I'm kind of down. Oh, well, they killed him for me. I'm gonna reload here. Have you seen Shojuku no Soma, by the way? Actually, it sounds really familiar. That's probably why I pronounced it, like, slightly okay. Oh, this guy got hit from every side. I feel so sorry for him. Oh, well, probably shouldn't have been over there.
Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent. Zone B locked. 5 minutes remaining.
Oh, he just burnt everybody through.
Lead is lost. The battle is still close.
Oh, come on. I was so close. I was so close. Oh, Shield Hero? I love Shield Hero. Shield Hero is good. Thank you, Lord Zenric. Thanks. English name Food Wars. Oh, yeah. Shoot. Food Wars is English name of, yeah. Demon Lord Retry. Zenric says Demon Lord Retry. It has foodgasms. I know it has foodgasm. It's so weird. I've seen Seven Deadly Sins. Fire Force I'm watching. I'm on the fence with Fire Force Nah, I'm kidding. I'm totally fucking in love with Fire Force. No offense or buts about it. The freaking opening's got me crying every time it plays. Well, they took him out for me. That was nice. They missed the heavy ammo here, though. Yeah, freaking... That opening, dude. It just puts me in tears every time. Okay, let's see. Well, just wasted it on him. Because why not? Don't judge me by how I live. Because I will have a dream. Could have been better. New season of 7 Deadly Sins came out. I didn't know the Newsy one came out. When did it come out? Because I'm kind of disappointed in the last season. I felt like they really could have brought more to the table. And I felt like they ended like halfway through like explaining the next set of the plot. Oh man, you guys gotta slow down on the messaging here, okay? I can't read everything.
3 minutes. You're evenly matched. Zone C lost.
Demon Lord retry could have been better. New, yep. Last one I'm watching, and oh, Assassin's Pride. Oh, try
Zone A captured. You
Oh
have
crap!
zone
I haven't seen Assassin's Pride yet, but read me, read me. Can't read me. There's no meh. Yeah, it says yeet. Okay, so. What was my brain thinking before we got into this? Talking about how you're inundating me with way too much text at the moment, so can't read it all. Oh, what is it? It's the girl reading a book. She loves books. She loves books to death. It's like academic. Oh man, how he was just. I didn't. Did you guys see him? I didn't see him until it hit me, or after it hit me. Technically. Dang it, it's a girl who reads books. She likes books a lot, so she decides to read them. But she ends up dying and getting born in another world.
It's a power play. Get those zones back.
Oh, oh crap! Freaking! Oh, they're all there.
Your opponent
Doki,
built a lead.
Doki Doki says lyric, and I have no clue in the world of life. Good name. A good anime from Zenrix says. Eritara Astra lost in space and the time I got reincarnated as a slime. I love reincarnated as a slime. I can't wait for the next one. I don't think any of my teammates over here. I'm not probably don't want to go this way. Oh, but I have to save someone's back.
Zone A captured. Power play. Keep the pressure
Oh,
on.
okay. I meant to go by the wall, not into the wall. Doki Doki, lol. Lyric. I will switch probably back to Monster Hunter soon. Oh man, he's not coming back. I was hoping he'd pick around the corner again. I think I'm just gonna stick with these guys as best as I can. Cause yeah, otherwise they just get blown up. Oh crap!
30 seconds remaining.
Ooh, I thought I killed him. I thought I got him. Oh, you don't know what Doki Doki Literature Club? OMG, it's a great game that you should read absolutely nothing about. Just play it. Okay. Let me see if I can find Doki Doki. I did not know they had that. I don't know if I want to play a reading game though. Like, I'm a little biased, right? A little biased. Oh, ouch. You just threw a Nova bomb at me. That's hurt. Alright, see you, Zenrex. Thank you for the recommendations. We'll talk more anime later, I promise. Okay.
You'll get it.
It's free too. Text story-based game. Would recommend 10 out of 10 if you don't mind text games. It's free too. On Steam? Is it on Steam, Lurk? Because I would definitely do that. I will put that down into my head. Sorry, I just dropped this. Apologize for your earbones. Your earbones are broken now. Doki Doki games, Ninja games. Doki Doki. And then the next game's gonna start. I'm gonna shoot myself. Last one. I can't play Shush You. We shushing. Bye, cool. I mean, Zenrix. I just said it. I said what Zenrix said. I did. It happened. Okay. So listen here, guys. All right. So I'm putting Doki Doki down. I will check it out. It's on stream. Lyric, let me know. I will play some Doki Doki because I actually enjoy reading. Believe it or not. Unfortunately, the only books I've been reading lately have really been more like self-help books. Like recently, I'm watching, reading, listening to my bad. It's Audible. It's called Corsair Critical Thinking. It's been pretty eye-opening. Kind of explains a little bit about how the memories you think you're 100% confident in are less than half true. If that makes any sense. See, Demon Lord retry. Gotta put that one down. Anime. So I'm trying to recap. I might just scroll through all the messages you guys have sent. Oh, Sans played. Okay. Oh, rude as fuck. Don't make him play that lyric. Oh, that's why you said shush. I don't know why it wasn't showing N64 girl's name. Sans. Yes, I played it. It's the opposite of self-help. Critical thinking is not the opposite of... Oh, I guess it is technically. Yeah, you win at that one. Don't tell him. I want him to experience it, raw dog. Don't tell me it's something I might not want to. I will Google it before I even do this. I mean, I don't mind lewd games, but... So anime, Lord retry. I can't think of Lord retry. You know what game I'm looking for? No, anime. Anime I'm looking forward to right now. Besides all these great ones that are already out, is ReZero. ReZero. I cannot wait for the next season. You guys' reactions. I mean, I'll let you. Fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with you see my reactions. No. It's Demon Lord retry. I will try to go through all these again so I can live. ReZero. Wait, what's King's Avatar? I don't know King's Avatar. You know, one I've been looking forward to that hasn't been coming out for a bit is Magic and... No, it's Knights and Robots? Magic Knights and Robots. That's the one. That's the one I'm thinking of. This. It's just like, oh. I think I'll live, Sam. There won't be any trauma, right? Is that type of game? King's Avatar is like Seo, but better. Oh, well. Hey guy, guess what? I just did a 360 no scope, but unfortunately I didn't shoot anybody. Oh, he threw out that solar grenade, and that's really what got me. Seo, but Chinese anime. Oh, okay. I don't really do Chinese anime on a normal, so that's why I probably don't know it. No promises. Dude, go that way.
Enemy has your zones.
Okay, well, I guess we're just gonna let him take it. Let him take the zone.
Zone B captured.
Oh crap! He pulled out a bow. Oh, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Oh, jeez, cheat, son of a gun. If you can look past the Chinese part, it's pretty good. Personally, don't mind it. I would look past the Chinese part because there's one video I was watching where there's like an epic freaking fight. You know, forget this. I'm going. Oh, freak! He did hard on me. Yeah, there was an epic like videos watching like epic like fights, and there was a Chinese. No, maybe was it Chinese? Freak! I can't even think of what it is now. Ooh, he got me. He got me. I'm for it. What was he doing just running in circles just right now?
Zone B captured. Power play.
What? I thought I hit him.
Pressure on.
I
Zone
thought
C
that was my kill. Okay, well, that was not my kill. I sent you a list on Discord? Yes, thank you. That's the next second thing I should have said. The first thing I should have said. Oop. Ooh. Oh, come on. I should have killed him, right? Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I need to go in here and switch this. I put it on. No, that's not what I want. I want that one. I had it on arc. I'm not a big fan of the solar. Not the arc. I mean solar. Solar. Let's see. Everybody on my team is just kind of spread randomly. Like herpes. They're just everywhere. Let's see. No, guys. I'm not trying to go to the wall. Alright? Don't judge me. Okay, so he went this way. So probably fucked at the moment.
gains the lead.
No, it's a free spot. You just took it for free. Nice. I take things for free. Free everything.
You captured zone.
Hey, thanks for the follow, King Forgetto.
Now hold.
That's how I'm reading it, Forgetto, because there's an I in there. That's just crazy. How's your night going, man? How you doing? I apologize. My brain and mouth is everywhere. That's not on talking on the English language, and no, it's not in that way. Okay, get your mind out of the gutter. Oh,
Zone C.
I'm good. King Forgetto. Hey, King Forgetto. This is my buddy Lyric. He's also an awesome guy I met on Twitch. Fuck. I just dropped the ball there. I'm trying to be better about my cousin. I know it's mature stream only, but you know those people that come in. So how you doing, King?
Zone A lost.
Yeah, how's your day? You know,
Get those zones.
what games you play? You play Destiny 2? He disappeared. Trucker. Oh well, I thought I was falling on. Why is everyone else having a hard time killing?
You captured
Someone
zone A.
Twitch. Yeah, it's Twitch fuck. It's Twitch fuck. It's TF. You just call it TF. Hey King. Let me know what games you play, man. We were talking about anime just now. Lyric was giving me a list of games to play. You're okay, you're annoyed. Alright, well,
Your enemy.
I would say let me know, what you're annoyed at. You can do a little venting. But otherwise, I just kind of want to know how your day is and what anime you like to play and hey, what time zone you live in. So
Captured zone C.
go guys,
Zone B.
catch me again.
Advantage is yours.
Let's see. Oh, come on. Oh, I killed that guy earlier. That's interesting. That was interesting. Yeah. Oh, he's still alive. Okay, should just probably no scope there.
Zone C lost.
What anime you like to play? I think you broke him, King. Definitely broke me. Always broke. I want my baby back ribs back. What the heck is going on? Oh, got a couple hits on him. Oh, he's still lived? How the freak did he still live? Oh, maybe it was a different guy. Maybe a different guy. Did you guys see two guys there? Or I just saw one.
Zone
I saw one. I shot him, broke a little bit of his shield, and my teammate still could not take him out. I'm not the only one struggling there.
Zone B. Captured.
Hey, can you at least fix broken? You can't fix broken. Once you're broke, you're broke. I mean, if you bent it a little bit, it's a little different, you know. At least you can still use it.
You took them. Now
But
hold.
completely broken is broken. These guys all went this way. I don't know why they went to B.
Zone B
They're
lost.
just trying to keep
3
the
minutes
ones
left.
that are active at the moment. What about money-wise? Well, I mean, you can't fix your broke ass. You have to go home, remember? You got no money, take your broke ass home. Oh. Yugi's probably having a hard time like I am at the moment, to be honest. He stole my kill! What about... Oh no. Still bad one. But anyways, King, just let me know, man. What's on your mind? Tell me. How can I ease your annoyance? Nah, I'm not a doctor. Can't give no mental health advice, but I can definitely ease you with some Dr. Pepper. Ooh. Did they get him? Did they get him? He was focused on me. Alright, I'm gonna clean this up. I lied. I'm not gonna clean this up. I'm just going to slam the staff in the ground many times. Oh, by the way, what nickname do you want? You know, what do you enjoy? What's your poison? What's your pleasure? Okay. Oh, you know what? I was trying to hit control this whole entire time, and I was fumbling. I was fumbling hard. This guy was trying to find me. Like, he was coming back around to find me. But, car salesman, I need to finish that last wish raid. Oh. Gotta get that last raid. I'm not gonna promise I'm not a great player, okay? There's no way I can promise you I'm gonna finish any raids with him. Which game are you playing? Were you playing Destiny? Ooh, I shot him in the head. Yeah, well, we lost. I'm still alive. No. What raid were you working on, King?
You eat monsters
you got?
for breakfast. You can win a battle for territory.
I know I got some Dr. Pepper. Oh, I lied. It's Coke. You know what? I only saw Car Salesman like once, but he has like 24 kills with an efficiency of 2.0. Nice. Nice. So I'm trying to work on some commands for the lying to me now. You see how it is. I mean, Lyric, why you gotta be lying? It's gotta be lying. Let's see. Hold on. I wish it worked, but anyways, I'm the last boss. I will be finished. Oh, okay, cool. What, you didn't tell me what game it was though. But so what I've been trying to say is that I was working commands for chat. So right now you guys are all getting points. If you didn't know that, you're actually getting, I think it's either 50 or 100 points per minute. I went to check, but you can like redeem stuff. Like you can redeem sounds and stuff and play them. Hey, thanks for the host. Got a host. Got a host from Legend of John. What's up? I'm getting points for what use? It's to do sounds. To do sounds and stuff. So let me bop in here real quick. No, that's not it either. You guys might get a little bit. Okay. So these are some of the commands. Like you got right now, you can do the 8-ball. So you can ask a question. I'll take this and I will post it because this is fine. I can do that. And no, you can't buy me. What do you think I am? All right, I have more respect for myself sometimes. All right, in a moment of weakness, I might let you buy me. No, I didn't say bite. Damn it, Lurk, you freaking messed me up. Your property now, apparently. Is that what face is that, King? I don't recognize the emote. Oh, crazy stare. Look at me, crazy stare. That's my crazy stare. You can buy it. I'm not giving permission. Sam, you can't say that, guys. King N64 girl is my girlfriend. She'll be on the stream from time to time. You won't usually see her. You usually just hear her. But apparently she's just gonna let me, get bought out with imaginary coin. All right. It's called coins. All right, just so you guys know. So you earn corgi coins for every minute in the stream that you're in. If you host, if you raid, like if you subscribe. You can't subscribe yet because I still need to reach affiliate. But the point is, all right, you get corgi coins. I have a corgi king. I'll show you my corgi. He's chilling. They're pretty expensive. A whole $85.
Show your enemy this place belongs to you.
Yes, $85. We'll do $8.50. Sold to the highest bidder. Wait, did I just sell myself? Yeet. Alright, these guys are going this way. I'm gonna go this way with them too.
Enemy claimed zone C.
I may be
Zone
pregnant,
B
guys.
captured. Zone A
It
captured.
might be Lurk's
You
baby.
have advantage.
Okay, so
You're in the lead.
I just barely made that jump. Oh, what the heck? Oh, whoa, we're playing the Iggy again? Look, he's in there. He's in the other party. What the heck is this? What type of matchmaking crap is this shit?
Zone A lost.
Yeah, just gonna do it. Totally worth. Totally worth the 850. I don't know. I
Taking the lead.
I don't put value to people. I have value in people. Place $100 in your person. Now you're full of value. Now I had to just cash you in once in a while.
Zone A captured. You have zone advantage.
That's what the points are about. I'm just putting points on you so I can use you and sell you to other streamers. That's called viewer seller. Okay. Oh crap! I'm dead. So wait, these commands are 0 points. Yeah, so far they're all 0 points. Just because I want you to get used to using them.
Zone C captured.
I don't want you spending a bunch of points when you just showed up in stream. I don't even know how many points. So if you want to check how many points you have, Lyric, all you have to do is hit ! points, and that will bring up your corgi coins. I should say corgi coins instead of points, but we'll get there eventually, right? I love you guys. Time to spam. Right? Oh, I mean, you can spam all you want. It's fine.
Zone A lost.
Oh crap!
That's a power
You got 200 corgi coins.
Now
Oh, so yeah, it is 50. Okay, so yeah, 200 corgi coins up, corgi coins, and
Zone C lost.
1232. What is this bullshit?
You have zone advantage.
Can you help me with raid after you finish Crucible? Yeah, sure. I don't mind helping you out, man. It's no problem.
Zone B lost.
I want to be first. I mean, Lyric, where you been at, man? You get them if you're here. You get them if you host. And you get them for being just a friend.
Zone C
I don't think that guy killed me.
have advantage.
That was oof. Oof, I'm at second. Yes, you're at second, but who's at first? Ah.
Zone C lost. Power play.
And whom's on
Enemy
second?
has your zone.
And
Zone
Yeah,
A
that's-
captured. Lost the lead.
unlikely since I haven't been here since he added it. Plus, I don't stream cough internet enough. No, she's second because she's been. I started loyalty points like a while ago. I just didn't say anything to anybody or anything, and I've switched from a couple different, I guess, loyalty points. So you have stream elements, and then you have stream labs, and I switched from stream labs to stream elements, and so maybe that changed things, but
Zone C captured.
I don't know.
You have zone advantage.
should totally give me free 2 times
That's a
free
power
points.
play. You took
You know what? If you show up 2 times to my stream, Lord, I will give you 2 times the points. Does that sound wonderful? And I can definitely figure out how to do that. 2K points? Oh, 2K points. I thought you said 2X points. Unluckily, since I haven't been here since he... I don't know. Oh, it sounds normal. What sounds normal? Guess what? I'm on a corgi. You got the corgi coins. Life is amazing when you get them in a joint.
Keep the pressure on. Zone B lost.
Is King still there? Is he or she enjoying his day? Oh crap, I ran right into the thick of that. Hold on. Is somebody...
Zone B captured. Power play.
So someone shot their super into the middle of that mist of things. But they also shot... My team shot their own super into the middle of that. Oh, you kidding me? What? That's messed up. I just went super, which gives you some extra health and boost. Unless they nerf that. You know, they nerf too many things. I'm going on a nerf strike, guys. Grab your nerf guns. Meet me out front. We're gonna riot. Yes! Oh man, I'm dying right now. Somebody save me.
Zone B lost. Power play. Enemy has your zone.
Oh. Sorry, I'm messing with stuff that I should be messing with at the moment. Alright. Corgi viewers. Alright. But yep. Just, you know, once we get going and get a little bit more people showing up, start handing out points, doing giveaways and stuff, and just straight have fun, you know. I gotta help you guys out. I know people's wallets are hurting all the time.
Power play. Get those zones back.
But that's one thing to get going. Just, at the moment, I'm just having fun. Whoa. Aye. This guy.
3 minutes remaining.
He's brutal.
B lost. Power play. Enemy has your zone.
Oh. Oh, so close. Did you say giveaway? So instead of buying you, I could have gotten you in a giveaway. No, not me. Can't buy me, get me out of a giveaway. You know, you have to pay. I'm dead. I'm so dead. So dead. Waste of points. I want to read. I don't know. Last time I checked, that I haven't been quite bought on being sold yet. So you gotta be one hell of a sugar daddy if you want me. You know what I mean? Oh, I just took all his bullets. He just like looked at me and was like,
Zone B captured. That's a power play. You took them. Now hold them.
King like came in and I'm like, are you sure you want this? Are you sure you want someone to come raid with you? And I'm pretty broken.
Good. Show your enemy what a real fight looks like.
Ah, scroll the wrong way. Psh, not that damn. Wait, what do you mean? Psh. You know, I don't love you, Lyric. I'm gonna replace myself.
Zone A captured. Zone advantage is yours.
Can I help you?
Zone B lost.
I just said I flew sideways. I was like, just going at it. Just kidding. I went to jump and all of a sudden next thing I know I'm going sideways. Hope you guys know all I do is scope and press left button. This is woo. Ouch. Wow, I love you though. Oh man, you gotta show the love, right? Gotta show the love, that earn the love.
1 minute.
Be nothing but love.
Just kidding.
I will always love everyone as much as I hate them. Oop. You know, Joe Mama sounds like somebody I know.
But it's not over.
Is that you, Lurk? Are you Joe Mama?
Comes for us all.
You. Oh man. Oh, someone just sent me a whisper. They're like, easy viewers. I'm like, I don't know about that.
You can win a battle for territory.
It's not my mom.
Again.
It's your mom. Duh. But plans are pay all my bills. Once I pay my bills, I'll save money, and then see if I can buy Call of Duty. Cause I am so excited for Modern Warfare. My life is just like. Oof. Let's see. All right, King, you there, man? What's going on? Let's see. It's a roster. I forget who's there. That's Mad Spike. I don't think he's playing though. He's odd, but he's not playing. I was waiting for like a friend request from King, but I think King ducked maybe. King, you still here? Do you have a add message after command, for example, 8-ball? Yeah, so you hit exclamation mark 8-ball and then you ask whatever question it is. So you just type it in afterwards. Make sure you have a space. So I can actually just type it here for you. It'll be like 8-ball does Lyric love me? Oh, Lyric doesn't love me. Why? Yeah, that's all it is. You can literally just say. You can also just do 8-ball, and then it'll just give me something. It says don't bet on it, so I don't have to say it on stream. You can just do 8-ball. But any commands you give or anything like that, you have to you have to do at the beginning of your sentence or whatever you're gonna say. You have to say it. So in this case, I can sit here and say, "Let's duel." All right, and then Lyric, you have to say. Oh no, wait, hold on. I thought I had duel on. Duel should be on. I do not know why. Hold on, maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I had to do duel, and then we're going for Lyric here because he's the easy target. I've been looking for a duel against Lyric. I think you have to. It's hold on, my brain is not functioning. Okay, so do this. Yes, easy target. Okay, and then there you go. I'm dueling you for 0 Corgi coins. That's right, because you can use your Corgi coins and you can duel each other. So if you want more coins, duel me. Actually, how many points do I have? I think you're only second, Sam, because I'm technically considered first, because technically I'm always in chat, so I should always have coins. Yeah, see, I got 700 Corgi coins right now, so. I know. Yeah. Ah, won the duel. It's not rigged. I did not hacks. No hacks. Alright, King with intense craze stare. You need to add me. My username or gamer tag is right there at the top. So let's see. Ooh, leaning towards no. Ah. If it puts a laugh and a face next to it, it's a giggle. It's called an L giggle. Oh, oh, jeez, I'm done. I can invite friends. Okay, cool. Yeah, see, King, I'm waiting for you. Where are you at, man? I'm gonna accept. I'm gonna accept this duel. You dare challenge me? How dare you? Oh, my bad. Sorry. Wait, hold on. It says a guy named Ty is. I cannot find that user in the database. What do you mean? I'm not trying to challenge myself. Do I have to? Oh, you need 6 people. I'll add you though. Okay. Once you add me, then I don't think anyone's on. I can try Mad Spike, but I don't know what he's doing at the moment. And he's pretty new to the game, so it might be pretty tough. I couldn't find you. You should. Oh, it's just to accept. Maybe that's why. That's why. Cause I didn't. I just didn't do accept. There you go. Hey, I won. How many corgi points did you want? Did I win nothing for it? It's rigged. I know it's rigged. What's the other stuff that you can do on there? I forget. Is there adventure? Let's go on an adventure, guys. So I think it's that. So you do exclamation mark adventure, and then oh, I forgot to put how much. And then say 200 coins, right? Nope, it's not that either. Definitely not rigged. All right. I'll lose one of these days. Today will not be my day. Did I not? Oh, you know what? Yeesh. Shift tab? No. Alt tab? Nope. There we go. Now it showed up. Let me see my friend request. It's too strong. You added me? Okay. There you go. Sweet. Nice name there. Nice name. Alright, you're in. We will play. We will have some fun. I promise. I'm just kidding. It might be a little frustrating. We'll find out. Wants to duel me. Man, I don't know, man. That's too much. I can't do it, Lurk. I can't accept your duel. Oh, you won! No. You messed up, Lurk. Your prediction didn't come true there. I think there's a roulette too. Roulette. It's like Russian roulette. If you do. She gotcha. Oh man, is it not on there? Do you have to put numbers? No, it should just be roulette. Roulette's supposed to be like Russian roulette. Hold on. Sam Corgi strong. She's taking everybody out. Everybody going down. Oh, that's not it. Okay. I mean, you can try lasers. You can lurk if you want to lurk. I have that command. Yeah, roulette's right here. Oh, you know what? I spelled it wrong. Didn't I? No, I didn't spell it wrong. Just guys figure out what I did. Did I do it wrong? It's right here. It says roulette. So if you get roulette, if you get shot, you get timed out for a little bit. So you can't chat and it deletes everything before roulette. And it's just gamble your life away. Alert! You got and lost 100 corgi coins. Ooh, yeah, slots. Yeah, you get slotted up. See, you can also request songs if you want to request any songs. Feel free. Oh yeah. So as you know, the more points you get, I haven't set it up yet, but the longer you've been here, longer points you get, the more you move up in the rankings. And I haven't named them. So there's the regular. There's the follower, regular, and after regular, it's like veteran, and then like subscriber, and then like I think that just stops there. Oh, she's bringing the corgi. And I forgot to do this. Sorry, give me 1 second. Why are you holding him like he's for ransom, babe?
Because he's a sleepy boy.
He's a sleepy. He's a cute sleepy boy. Okay, here, I'll invite you.
He's trying to lay halfway between us.
I think they do. What's up, babe?
He was trying to lay halfway between us.
No, you have to do your ranks. You have to do exclamation mark rank to get your. Don't die. Hey, Says, what's up? What's going on? I was explaining the points. Like, I got points going on. Apparently, I don't have a rank, even though I just did rank. But not necessarily dedication. Thank you for the host. Awesome. So Zona's gonna come in with those points already. I forgot how much. I think you get 500 points for hosting, actually. Larry, you got sad and lost your 100 corgi codes. Lose the rest now. Just heading into bed. Thought you popped by. Thanks. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're just playing some Destiny, just chilling. The Corgo's here. Sam just walked by me. Rank doesn't work apparently. I apologize. But you can do points. Points to tell you where you're ranked at. Points wise. I think you're probably pretty low to be honest. Yeah, it's flawed. That's flawed. Let me see where it's at. If rank is on here or not. Because roulette's supposed to work and the roulette's not working. So. Oof. Yeah, it's a real oof. I have to work through a lot of these bugs. Let's go. Yeah, Lyric is 13 and 32 on the leaderboard. So you can do it that way. There's also leaderboard. Lasers I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to get lasers to work. What's my stream store? Here's the ones. Commands are a pain. I know. I was sitting here telling Sam, I'm like, I have like a renewed found respect for people who set up commands for their channel because it takes a lot. I thought it'd be pretty easy trying to talk through with you, but Lyric dropping below Zona even though he got 100 more in the stream. So messed up. You don't want me to lose it? Wait, I have 100 more slots. Did that? Slots didn't work. I think you broke the system. Oh, every command has like a small. Hey, thanks, Azona. Have a good night. See, can I make you promote the leader? There you go, King. I gotcha. It's you. So much going on in chat right now. It's so nuts. Thank you for the following, Lyric. Wait, Lyric, I thought you were already following. Is that what you did? You unfollowed the follow? I'm gonna shut that off. I'm just gonna say 3 points. Oh my goodness. I think you're gonna lose them every time you did though. King. Oh, it's King Fergie though. Oh, sorry, King Fergie though. It's in front of my face too. So King Fergie, I made you fire team leader, so you can choose what you want to do. And then let's see. How long have you been playing? What gear you got? Yo, that's some dope armor. Let's be honest. You get 500 a follow. I had 100 now. I have 600, so you didn't lose them. You're right. So I'm gonna just have to shut that down. I'm gonna be like, if you unfollow, come back. I'm gonna just be like, nope, you only get it once. Just kidding. I have to figure it out. But look at that. That was dope. It's like you're wrapping around. This looks like even for band-aids though. Cool helmet. I just like your whole setup. Dude, King Fergie. Amazing. Why did no one correct me? I was like sitting here saying King Forget, and I was wrong the whole entire time. Type strict lyric of his Corky Kunks. Yeah. Guess what lyric? You 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 feel better I lost when I truly followed you. Yikes. Never said to get lost in my eyes lyric, alright? You're having way too many funs with this. Okay. So there's also this thing called ad points. And then oh, come on. You weren't found. Couldn't find you apparently. No points for lyric. What is going on? King, we're waiting on you, man. Did you make me fire leader again? What King, what are we waiting on right now? You know what? I'm pressing the wrong button over here. You know that? Give points. Ah. I'm dead. I'm dead. I don't know why. Why did it let you do that? That's not supposed to work that way. I'm so it's fine. I love the command system, so have fun all you want. It's a blast. I like having them a lot. That's why I've been really dying to get them. Oh crap! So done right now. I'm just trying to be nice over here, and I'm trying to give some lyrics some points, and I spelled it wrong. Give points. Oh no, King! I switched to you, bro. I knew what you wanted to do, but I didn't know what rage you wanted. If that made sense. Yeah, I have a Discord, dude. Yeah, I'll post the link. Give me a second. Disco Inferno, burn, baby, burn. I have to see. I can't wait until I fix this Destiny problem I have right now. So, because I'm so mad right now that it's not working the way it's supposed to be. Like you're supposed to use a game capture and just capture the game screen alone. I had to use my display screen because it's that bad. But there's the Discord. Hop in. I will hop in too because I forgot to do that. Don't mind me. Totally gonna die. It's fine. Alright, you guys gotta let me know how this goes because this is the first time I had someone in my Discord for this. Just tight. Can I have points to buy Sam? No, you can't buy Sam, unfortunately. You know what? I'm gonna do that. Right? I'm gonna do raffles of people. I'm gonna raffle people, and like a family-friendly raffle.
We've had zero contact for the last several
What is
hours.
going on?
Which is why we need you.
There we go. Okay. All right, I'm in general right now. King, if you want to add me. Is that you, King? I'm scared. Wrong one push. Oh yeah, that's right. Hey King, can you hear me? Actually, now can you hear me now? Maybe I can't.
Yeah, man, I can hear you.
Oh, cool, cool. was like, I was like, I forgot I'm push to talk right now. Oop. All right, man. All right, ready to go? Hop on. Let me buy. Not working too well. Alright. Hop off. Let's go, man. Let's see. I was like, where's King at? But man, how's your night going? You said you're annoyed trying to get those damn grade done. Yeah, you're annoyed
Yeah,
trying to
it's
get
going good so far. How about you?
Fine, fine. Just having fun. You know, obviously not speaking English at all. Oh, thanks for the revive.
Going good so far. How about you?
Oh, my dog's trying to get me. Hi. Oh. Alright. This is... Oh, yep. That's how it works. I do not know what song you put in at the moment, but we will figure it out. I need to get myself another monitor so I can like check things as I'm streaming. I'm using like 2 computers right now just to check chat. Well, I'm happy I'm not the only one dying. There it goes. Oh, I forgot. Do we have to fight more of them?
Us out. We're trying to keep those missing guardians in.
Get like 3 monitors? Yeah, I would love like 22. That'd be amazing. 22 monitors. Oh. Monitors are expensive. True that. I know they're expensive. That's why we gotta get them on sale. It's called Black Friday. You know? Put it on my wish list. Dive behind this pole here. Like some pop shots over here. Oh, yeah. I'm on fire, guys. I'm literally on fire. Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. Wait, you know what I forgot to do? I probably forgot to actually start my song request. It should play. With or without me. Yeet. Don't worry about me. Let's see. Ah, I forgot to launch it. That's what happened. I'm gonna break it trying to get out. I don't know. It's a good question. There we go. I got some music. Sorry, King. Whoa. We started over again? When the heck did we die? Yeah, I was gone for like a second. Is this guy next to us just useless? Actually, can you hear me from my stream? It's probably like slow if you do the stream. Oh man, I would have. Oh, I want to break the monitors on Black Friday of all things. Those are the best lucky days for me is when everything's black. Should probably hide behind the poles. You know, never said I was smart. Ooh. Yeah, I should put out a wish list. Like, guys, this is what I want. I'd love you dearly if you help me make the stream better. So I could use another monitor, just run more things, add commands on the fly. Ooh, you know what? Why not do a wish list that you earn points? Is this the music you picked, Lyric? Am I on drugs or something right now? Or it's pretty slow. I thought you picked something a little bit on the crazy side. Oof. Dang, I'm getting blown up. Are you sure we're the right light level for this? Just kidding. I've done this raid before. It's a worth it raid. Should it be? Should be your song. Good song requests. You can also check the queue and see where your song's at. And if you need to, I can bump it up so that you can hear your song sooner. Let's get it. Alright, finally killed that guy. Oof. Crazy side, who do you think you take me for? I mean, I take you for the train. Duh. Do I need to punch a ticket or something? How much is a ticket for the train? A ticket for the chain. Lyric. Oh, then Lyric's also up to you, man. You can always call you by your first name if I actually remembered it. Because I must have, in my memory, asked you if I knew your real name or not. Nice. Kill that Olga. Olgana. 5,000 Corky points. 5,000 Corky points for what? Coins. Corky coins. Yeah, I'm hoping to get my new overlay within a week or no, I'm kidding. I can't even tell you when I'm gonna get the overlay. I'll get it eventually.
Death experiments.
Ooh.
I don't know what you're walking into, Caliban, but keep your eyes up. I want to see you all alive at the end of this.
I think alive.
To ride, man.
Bare minimum.
Gotcha. 5,000. Only 5,000, man. I feel like it's pretty cheap. You know what I mean? Like,
Caliban?
it's like this, right?
Sir, they're not responding.
I'll be right there in a second.
That must be one of the missing guardians. Tracing his broadcast now.
Oh, my bad. I forgot to give the user points. Oops. That was the username 123. I feel like give myself corgis. It's 5,000 corgi coins. Oh yeah, Sam wants to know if it's 5,000 for her too. Sidestep that. Oof. Feel that love. Oh. It's this one. Gotta get used to this damn slide once. You pick another song, or are we just listening to a track? Is it loud enough, to be honest? Oh, he's a meme. That's just messed up. Shush.
full of void light.
Sam, it's only 4. It's a coin less? How dare you give her only that much of a discount? I should at least get like a free ride once, you know? How dare you? Oh, look, give me. Now it tells me you added a song. Okay. Oh, you can also check what songs you have. Now, do I know the command for that or not? That would be a no.
Can only be created by guardians.
Because unfortunately, I do not have the command list in front of me.
Got their claws on it.
Oh, that's not what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm just gonna beat you. Beat you into oblivion. Look, even a knight is cheaper than you. It's only 500 points. Ooh, my kinetic weapons are full. Yeet. Fine, you can both ride free for once. I call fun. It's called shotgun. I just hurt myself. Ouch. That was smooth. Oh, I can't revive you yet. Why did we all jump down and then just didn't we just jumped down and just both of us almost died. You get the back seat? Damn it! I want a back seat ride.
No wonder they don't want company.
Is someone there? Hello?
Oh, there you go. Now it's open up.
Anybody in the rig listening? I swear I just heard a
How much for the front seat? How much for a ride on your lap?
I'm just gonna keep going
What?
and
How much?
talking and hope that the signal gets better.
Oh, you serious, bro? Whoa.
The hive can't summon anything.
He's amazing at reading my words. I know you said that you get the back seats high. Auto mod. Yeah. I guess I need to change that. I know Sam's been telling me I need to change my moderation, but I didn't think on my lap would be, you know, considered kinky. So it's added. Actually, I like that. I actually added the word. So now next time we won't have such an issue. So it learns. It's a smart AI. Ooh. You cry. It's alright. You can cry all you want, but you'll always be my trainer. Or my bus. Or my cabbie. You know, it might be my transportation.
Copy. Are there others with you?
Oop. I
No,
need some help.
just us down here.
Oh. I'm gonna take it to him. Take it all to him. They're all gonna die. Everybody going down. Alright. You know, I'm tired of this bee crap. Take this. Like that bee crap? Oh. I'm gonna learn how to play on PC soon. I will become proficient. You can't pay for seats, especially since Sam was first. Oh man. Kinky is okay. I mean, it's just in your windows. I never said anything kinky, right? You're the one that said on my lap. I just not kidding. I'm the one that said it. Ooh, I'm getting melted from both sides. I'm trying to help out. There you go. Okay. I'm burning? Why you gotta be on fire? Why you gotta be on fire? Can't pay for seats, especially since I was first. Eric, I should pay for whatever seat I want, you know? It's called equal opportunity. For all who can pay for it. And I want to let you know, I can pay very, very much in Corgi coin, okay? Oh, I thought there was someone over there. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. I didn't reload. Oh, crap. Oh, blew them to smithereens. I'm not even gonna let that one through. You see an auto mod coming from a mile away. You might, but you still fall in that trap, Lyric. Ha 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 ha. My auto mod trap. And it's not of its final form.
We came down here as a squad of 9.
I got the power of God and anime on my side.
Watched a wizard.
It's alright, Lyric. He can ride front. I don't mind being on the back
funnel
seat.
it into some kind of crystal.
And nah, you're gonna raid between. Right, bitch.
These are all guardians.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dodge. Guys, you gotta dodge. Dodge left. No, dodge back. Oh, crap. I can't even dodge. Can you even dodge, bro? Can you even dodge? Oh, okay, there we go. Can you even dodge, bro? Oof. I'm on fire. I'm burning. Put myself out. Between you and Sam in the backseat gets better bumps. Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm just gonna run over here. Don't mind me. How's the diversion, guys? Kill him. Kill him, guys. That was the diversion. Take him. Give him loves. Give him all the loves. Zelda? What? Oh, you're playing Zelda? I'm fine. Oh, you're fighting Ganon finally? I was like completely lost why we're talking about Zelda. I was like, he lost me so bad. I was so lost. Someone, can you find me? I'm a lost puppy. Have you seen my flyers up anywhere? I'm pretty sure someone's missing me somewhere. Woo. Yeesh. I wish I could dodge him in air. That'd be great. Nice, have fun. I shall adopt you. I know that costs corgi coins to be able to adopt. Do you have enough corgi coins for that, Lyric? What? He just turned around and stared at me. Don't judge me, alright, guys? Get out of my face. 13th on the more than enough. I don't know about that. They timed you out for some reason. Did you do roulette? Did you? How? What in the world? You just got timed out, and all I can think is you did a roulette. That's the only way I can think of it at the moment. And all I can do is laugh. Because you're so timed out for 300 seconds. That's 3 minutes. No, that's more than 3 minutes. What in the world? What in the wild world? That's way too much time. 5 minutes. 5 minutes of time out for you. Yeet. That's just harsh, man. You did nothing? You added points to yourself and it timed you out. That's all I can... Did you... Said points... I don't know. It just timed you out. Wow. Oh crap, I got stuck. You serious? It spawned back just as I walked. Oh, you freaking kidding me. Seriously? They keep spawning back just as I walk over them. So I don't know what we're helping King with right now, but we're helping King because out of the kindness of my heart, I helped some random stranger who happened to follow me. Yeah, obviously I had too many points. I did command that said I have enough points, and it's like, nah, fam, you in the corner. That's what it sounds like, man. Gotta cuff King's back. Wait, I wasn't ready. I got my firepower. I got my firepower I can get. Boom! Blew them both up to Bolivian. The utter Bolivian. Obviously, no way. How could you ever have enough points, Lyric? I don't think you would ever have enough in your life. You need all the points. You're scared to talk now. Well, I unbanned you, so it's not that bad. Like,
Getting a little dicey down here. You need to turn back.
it's not dicey, man. I go hard in the paint.
No, turn back.
No, not that paint.
We can use the crystal to disrupt the ritual.
Tell me to turn back, but that's just cruel.
Yeah, great idea. But there aren't any powered crystals in here.
All right, it's hot. It's hot, guys.
I take it back. Together, we're gonna end this.
Oh no.
You have another plan?
Nope. Same plan. Give Sloan my regards.
Oh no. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a trap. The birds work for the bourgeoisie. Oh, ah. Rick's all afraid to talk. Let's see, hold on. I think it timed you out because you had kept continue to just say things in general, so that it would ban you for or block it. So I'm guessing that once you started saying something else, it just decided to ban. So maybe try not to do any points right now. Just that's a rip. I didn't like me talking. I died again. I know. I took all the damage from it. Well, I was gonna respawn, but it's not letting me respawn. There we go. Oh, I'm supercharged, guys. Is this anything good? It's okay. It's a sniper rifle. Probably should clean things out before I hopped in here. Oh. Eesh. Well, it's nice knowing you, Lyric. Mod's never gonna let you talk again. You're just gonna have to sit there in silence and, you know, hear me talk all this crap about how Lyric to train. Won't let me sit on his front seat. There's a guy here. He's just standing in the corner. Oh, what the heck was this? That's just messed up, man. Oh, by the way, I'm almost sure the song didn't work. Okay. Let's see. Do I have to do it for you? That'd be sad. That'd be sad, Ty. Here, try posting it again, but it says you should be able to. Okay, so my bad. Sorry. Damn it. Ugh. Picked the wrong time to do it. As long as it's me. Sorry, Kate. Just trying to look at other stuff on accident. Oh my goodness. Someone put me out of my misery. Maple is going ham on his phone. I apologize. Ooh, I did not know you could dodge like that. Oh, my bad. Time to get out of here. Oh, bueno, dang it. Just a linker with a song request added. Do the song request again one more time. If it doesn't work, I'm going to just go copy your link from the chat and I'm just going to post it into the URL. Because apparently Stream Elements is broken. Oh well. I get it fixed. It might be just that as I moved everything over, it's still trying to command it elsewise. Ooh, what did you do? How did you did a song request, right? You didn't do SR, right? Oh, I moved. We almost got it. It's almost done for. One more time. One more time. Watch out for the thralls. Thralls incoming. Yeah, see, it alerts me. I get the dang noise alert for it too. Like I can tell that you added something. Yeah, okay. You did that. And then I'm gonna assume after this song it's gonna do it. My play queue is empty. Oh, it's pending approval. Okay, I didn't know how to be approved. Oh, my mod Sam is failing on her job right now. Sam, how can you do this to me? I know she's in a boss fight with Gannery. There we go. Yo, welcomes. Apparently I just had to get it approved. Oh, you're serious? Ah, man, I was trying to revive him. Come on. Should hire a competent one. Kidding, kidding. Well, guess she's not riding your bus anymore. Or train, however you want to put that. Alright. That dang ogre was almost done. Oh yeah, hit it right in the crack. Oh, it moved. It moved. Dang it.
Here's our chance.
Alright. I know, someone died. Oh, freaking kidding me. Alright. There we go. Got it. Oh. Oof. Got your back. Got your back. Alright. Here, cover me. Going for it. Oh crap, you freaking kidding me? Almost died. Oh. Son of a crystal. Eden. Son of a gun. I've got enough health right now. Alright, alright, going for it. Apparently, I cannot jump high enough. This damn ball. She gets a ride. I hope she get a ride. I'm gonna replace you, Dirk. The better train bus. Bus train. Boom! Game over.
We won't forget what you did today.
Pretty sure your song is playing like 3 times. So if you stay for like 3 times, I might love you. Don't replace you. Nah, I can't replace you, man. Ooh, leg hack armor. Nice. Not much, worth much stuff, but oh well. Hey, I gotta run to the bathroom real quick. Be right back.
Alright, dude.
You hear that? I'm running to the bathroom. BRB. Still in this game for reals. You can also check how long I've been up by doing.
could play blank, blank 182. Lay around the house and daydream till the afternoon. Thinking about the times that we had when this was all that we knew. When this song was still new, when this all was still new. We could play blank, blank 182. Summertime nights that we had staring at the moon. Laughing at our own jokes, acting like they were new. We'd only watch cartoons, but loving life is our tune. That we can never go back to this. And as we grow, we'll look back and miss our live. Cause we'll leave this time, we'll leave this home, and find life, love our very own.
Alright, I'm back. Thanks for waiting, guys. And we can kick it off. Hey, Seahorse, what's up? What's going on? Hi, Dad. When you get mod? Or how do you host on PC? The host on PC, you have to go to your dashboard on your channel and then hit host. Welcome back and congrats, Sam. Oh yeah, Sam beat Ganon in Breath of the Wild. So, yay, party! That's too much work. Oh my goodness. Alright, I'm ready to go. Let's see. I'm gonna turn down Discord. Discord. Let's see. The dog is going ham on this bone back here. You guys can't hear that. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you, Seahorse. Should have been doing everything but that. I got all the shrines and almost decided to do the Kurok seeds. You gotta do all 999 Kurok seeds? That'd be crazy. Oh, yeah. Oh, you said congrats, Sam. Ooh, man. Well. What are you up to, Seahorse? You play any Fortnite today? The Fortnite? Too bad you don't have a PC, Seahorse. You play all sorts of games. I'm waiting for Lyric to get his own PC. I can technically play on PS4 with him. I just don't have... Well, I have Destiny on there. I have a few other games. I don't think... Lyric, what games do you have for PS4? Oh. I don't remember. I don't remember games messages. I got bot message on PS4 with their number. Oh, yeah, that's great. I thought about it, but I figured that I could stop putting off Ganon. Yeah. Don't put Ganon off. He will not wait forever. Quite a few games on PS4. Okay, what, you have to send a list in Discord again to let me know? Okay, I got a bot called Dog Hype that sent me Ease Twitch viewers, which I've actually been hearing about Twitch streamers getting hacked. They've been clicking on links you shouldn't be clicking on. You know what I mean? Like, bring yourself back to reality and understand the link is not safe. Monster Hunter. I know this is a big one for you. I don't remember you played Monster Hunter. Come on, man. That's the first time I met you. I was playing Monster Hunter. I was like stoked. Single player or things I play alone? I mean, which way you talk about playing, Lyric? Click. Go now. Oh, Seahorse. I see you changed your color too. Alright. Well, thank you for stopping in. Alright. I appreciate it. You know, come chat and hang out again. I did post down my schedule of when I should be on. Otherwise, it should be on randomly. Why did that guy just turn around? Interesting. Oh, we're doing this raid again. Oof.
Our apology to investigate a heavily guarded hive ritual. We've had zero contact for the last several hours.
Yeah, I get it. I'll just run. Hey, King. Do you have any other characters? You play Warlock only, or? Oh, you can't place on PC. Can't play. Oh. Okay, what happened? Oh, we're leaving this one.
Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna be the same one.
Oh, gotcha. By the way, guys, how's this sound? Do I need to turn it down more? Because I can hear it pretty fine in here, but your PC can barely run Borderlands 1 on the lowest setting. Oof.
Do you farm a lot in this game?
I haven't in a while, to be honest. This is like my first time getting back on Destiny since the what is it? The last DLC dropped. No, Celestial. I think it was Celestial Celebrations was the last time I played. Why? What's that? Why do you ask? You gotta restart a PC and do it all over again. Also, just buy a new PC. Easy for you to say. Actually, that's really hard. Really hard for her to say. Easy to say, hard to do. Yep. Oh, turn them down. Thanks, Seahorse. I've been only catching some stuff. I just see like names, a bunch of white, and then I have to like, yeah. Anyways, I will turn him down because he's like 10 times louder than it should. You guys don't want to break your eardrums? You know what song we should play? Unfortunately, it gets shot down on YouTube. I found this out. If you play the Fire Force opening song, but you do the green side, it gets shot down. Hello, Dad. I see you, Seahorse. Not rich after all. Plus, I said good night because at Seahorse I saw that you were leaving. I was like, Seahorse, good night. See ya. To be fair, this computer was 800, but yeah, I know it's trash. It makes me want to cry. With 2 consoles to buy games for, it's rough. You buy 2 consoles? Wait, so do you buy for your brother too? Or is this... Wait, I forgot. Yeah, I know you're still here. I don't know why you're still here. I thought you were leaving. Like, you got me confused, Seahorse. You never played? You freaking kidding me? Now you tell me, Lurk, when I'm sitting here fighting? You tell me now. I approved it. Oh, my bad. Yep. Now I'm dying. Now I'm dying. Now I'm dying. This is all your fault, Lyric. This is all your fault. You let me die here. You leave me hanging. Trying to... Alright. I hope this play next. If it doesn't play next, you can shoot me. Only in a game, though. I can't do it in real life. That's too real for me. IRL is too real. You know, I actually haven't remember doing this mission. Bye, Dad. Bye, Seahorse. I'll see ya. Your best friend has a PS4. I mean, I have a PS4 also. I'm just trying to meet in the middle somewhere. Should we go Xbox? You gonna play a Monster Hunter on Xbox? Bye. Like my best friend's mad at you. I don't know why your best friend would be mad at you. Tell your best friend not to be mad at you. Look him in the eyes. Did he just die? Oh, I see where we need to go. Okay. See. Oh crap. Everybody's dying over here. Oh. He told me something I said it was weird. Then you stop talking. Then you probably yep. Oh, you have an Xbox? That's not middle ground for me. Let's go PC, man. just kidding. I don't even have an Xbox. Oh, you know what? Better yet, let's go Google Stadia. Is that how you say Stadia? I think it's Stadia. Stadia. We'll just go Google Stadia. That's a good middle ground, right? I know you would, man. I really appreciate it. Are they down there at the bottom? Are they up above us? Oh, yeah, they're down there. They're freaking shooting at us at all this ooze. Oof. Oh, to die. What in the actual heck are we? What game am I playing right now? Stadia requires decent internet. That's true. Don't worry. Sam's like, we'll get you there. It's fine. Alright, cool. Nice, made it over here. No extra damage. Kinegis. Dude, he looks like he's pretty harsh. Looks like he's hurting a little bit. Going to beat you up. Yeah, Sam's gonna beat you up. She wants to beat you in COD. She wants to 1v1 you in COD. So you need to get a PC. So you guys can 1v1. Oh crap! Alright, what is this? What is this? What in the hell of a rat did I pick up? Oh, I see. Is that? No, is it? I mean, it looks like it. Eat. Oh crap! Serious? Oh, is that where I'm supposed to put it? Let's send it to the heart of the temple. Oh, I see where I'm supposed to go. So, no. Is that right? Oh. What in the blue bases? I have no clue what I'm doing. This is all new to me, man. I've never played this. I've never played this raid in my life. I'm kind of freaking out right now. I'm just gonna shoot things. Haven't played Modern Warfare 2 in forever. Oh, I'm gonna beat up. Only loves in the form of beating the crap out of you on Call of Duty. Oh, ouch! Die. I haven't 1v1 since. Oh, okay. I haven't 1v1 since Modern Warfare 2. Oh, we all died. Alright, yeah, I've never done this before, so this level. So forgive me, King. I might die because I'm down here. Oh, you freaking kidding me, man. They go invisible and they just whack you. Just like, what back? Ready shot. Good night, Seahorse. I'm seriously, you're actually gonna go to bed. You know, I'm sorry that you feel like your friends is avoiding you. Just give them a second. They may come back to you. They might save you. Oh crap. Oh, freak. Oh, son of a... like stuck down here. Just hopping around. I hope you guys could come back. Oh. Nope. Can you guys not revive on your own? Oof. He said he was busy and can't always stay up because he has risks for seizures. Oof. Man, those things are serious, but you overthink. Just a little bit. Overthink a little bit. Just admit that you overthink. And then, A, be forgiving of others. Don't make assumptions before you know the truth. And talk to people when they can make time for you. I'll get him. I got you, King. Incoming. Alright. It's freaking crazy. This is a crazy mission. Ooh. What am I getting shot at? Where is that coming from? Oh. Oh. Come on, give me some health back. No. I forgot I'm not wearing the right thing. Super smart people overthink. That is very true. It's I don't know how true that is. I could believe it though. But there's also a saying that smart people cannot sleep. Well, you're staring at the picture. What you been up to lately? Yeah, look. Lyric? Ooh, Lyric, tell Sam about your niece and nephew.
Let me have a look at that console. This is some kind of elevator.
Ah, man. Not working my aim. Oop. Feel lonely. I'm busy at hospital fixing up a house or roof. Yours? I feel lonely. I'm lonely. Oh, right. You feel lonely right now? Yeah, it is tough. I don't know why Lyric was in hospital, but bro. Talk. Seahorse, what is your name? Oh yeah, that was the baby. That must have been fun. Ask Sam, she'll tell you about hospital visits all the time. She doesn't love them. Definitely hates them. Oh, so I can respawn. Oh no, everybody died. Sorry, the dog is jumping up on me. Okay. Hi, Maples. How do I have such a low... Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm distracted. That's what's going on right now. Sisters. Sisters is Lyric's who had the baby. Lyric didn't have babies. Or unless he did. Lyric, are you the first man to have babies? Tell me right now. I need to know. Am I talking to a famous person right now? Because if you're famous, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Puppo, yeah, Puppo. Puppo's asking for attention. He's trying to hop in my lap. He wants all the loves. See, that's what we gotta do. You gotta get Seahorse. You gotta get you a pet. I can't talk to you then, Seahorse. You know the procedure. I just said if you're famous, I can't talk to you. You know what I mean? This is actually a pretty fun quest, if you don't mind dying a few times. Oof. That hurt more than I really wanted it to. It's like a bridge to nowhere. Alright, game face.
Cover me.
Yeah, you can send me pictures. Alright, give me a second, guys. This is pretty intense at the moment. I want to make sure that I'm giving these guys my full attention and not just dying on them willy-nilly at the moment. Hey, grab the. There you go. Grab. You have to grab the orb. Hi, babe. Oh, you can throw those? Oh, okay. I'll take. And it, well, I should have known that. Just, oh, relics. Oh crap, I need some help over here. Oh, I just fell off. No, son of a gun. Bro, I mean, Dan, I got 100 on my report. Whoa. Get some hype in the chat for 100. Yeah. Seriously. Some hype. Oh crap, I didn't know you died. Why is everybody dying? Ah. Hype emoji? Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can do a bunch of smileys. College is hard. Yeah, college is hard. Just stay alive. Whoever's still alive, just stay alive. Yeah, it's King. King, stay alive. 4 more seconds. Alright, I'm back. What's that? Down there. Where? Oh, seriously? They just knocked me off the platform. Don't die. Don't die. My dad got me $3. It was super nice. Ooh. That's dope. Made it, sort of. Sam's driving. Yo, what should be a goal if you get more than get 100 on your next test? Get 100 in the next test and get it special. Oh. Nice. Took that shrieker down. Shrieker's down. Set down the phone. Seahorse. Seahorse, set down the phone. Stop thinking. Just kidding. It never happens. Think way too much. If you can take a shower, go take a shower. Enjoy a shower. Like what you do when you need to sleep. You can't.
Melatonin. Take all of melatonin.
That's true. You know, I reading from my psychology book, right, babe, that they said that melatonin is help actually regulate your sleep too. Not just help you get to sleep, but regulate it. So if you're having a tough time sleeping, melatonin will actually smoothen.
It's clearly not helping regulate mine.
No, it regulates yours too well. That's what happens.
It's like
Sometimes
time
you
to sleep for
sleep
3.5 years.
See what happens? See, I focus, and we get past places somehow. Oh yeah, intense focus right here. Watch my face, guys. not gonna blink. I'm gonna just keep a straight face on the whole entire time. No emotions. Hey, Lurk didn't answer me. You just stay up until I pass out, which just takes us 48 hours. Oof. I can't even. No. Come on, guys. You gotta have some healthier sleep. Somewhere. Someone does. I know I stay up well until night, but I'm a dork. Oh. Yeah, see? I missed that shot just now. That's how much of a dork I am. So. Is it really weird? Sam's like used to me on the PS4. Oh crap. Where the hell did he go? Oh, there he is. Oh, that was almost no scope. I ran out of ammo for that. I'm just gotta focus the ogre. If you guys want to take out the other stuff, I'm down. Ooh. Okay. Well, alright. We're just. Oh, I see what's happening. It's two different realms. Okay. That is messed up. I am slightly freaking out from it. How the... They're like, oh here, we got that guy. We got the big guy. Now we gotta get this guy though. So we're dealing with two realms of existence. Which realm do you exist in? You got sleep apnea? No. I'm not even reading chat right now. Don't quote me. Don't even expect me to read the chat. I was trying to, and I was letting these guys down. But I will give 100% love to those who need it as soon as I get a second. Alright, who's down? Yeah, gotcha. King Fergie! Just save. Alright, safe place over here. No, that's a lie. I'm getting shot. That's like eating. Should have taken the high ground. Hey, over here, there's a knight shooting at us. Across the bridge to the left. That's the way we came. That would be our 7th o'clock. Or 8 o'clock? Is it 8 o'clock or 7? No, it's not. It's 8. It's 8 or 9. This last guy right here. Oh, you guys are running on. My bad. I didn't see the door open. Thanks, 30. Let's see. What were they saying, babe? Freaking hiding over there. Sniper. Sorry, I'm laughing at Lurk's pain because he said he choked. Choked on love, right? Is that right? Can you guys stop clogging your throats? I would appreciate it, alright? Clear them throats. Oh. My bad. I just died back there. Oh. Let's come back for you. Just missed you. Okay, here we go. Ooh, Twilight Realm. Oh, it's called the Ascendant Plane. What are you gonna do, babe? Oh, thanks.
confident so I can do my job as a moderator because I'm a confident moderator. Thanks, Lear.
You guys need to have a talk.
About what? What?
The
Yeah.
the sass going on over here.
Come on.
Oh, this Hobgoblin blew the heck out of me. Blew me to pieces. All right, I can respawn. It's fine.
No Lear. No hostility at all. But babe, do you have a phone charger?
Yeah.
Not the one that your phone's sitting on. Like holding.
Unfortunately, that's all I have at the moment.
We'll find a different one. All of our charging cords are being used for everything.
Yeah. Where are we going? Oh, just keep going down? Yeah, keep going down. There's another hobgoblin down here. Yeet! Aw, thanks. Watching it because you're dad. When I watch a lot of streams, I modded like 25 channels. That's way too many, man. How do you even stay alive with that many? Like modding one channel for me is like enough. Like I'm done for the day. Like just put a gun in me. Oh crap. You guys, did you go on without me? Where are you guys at? Never mind. Totally got turned around. You don't watch anymore? What about Fox though? Okay, I see where to go. This map is, or this raid is nuts. Oh, I hit the rock. Yikes. Off for him, but he hasn't streamed in a long time now. That's sad. Have you guys ever seen the rainbow? Don't go chasing rainbows. Listen to your mother, your father, and stick to the fish that you know. Cause you go changing race bows, and you get killed like this guy just did. Oh, you kidding me? You gotta be kidding me. Thanks for the revive, King. Should love Gopher in one day.
Yep.
King's like, yep.
I don't know why I just went all this trouble when now that I have my Discord, I can just use my phone.
To do what?
I was gonna send Lyric some photos of Maple, and I was trying to find the cord to connect to my computer, and Discord.
You guys want some cute corgi pictures? I'll hook you up. You know, with some real pics in your DMs. I don't know if I should hate that I love sending pictures of my dog, or just embrace it. What's Lyric, Seahorse, King?
You ready?
Good thing, bad thing, corgi pics, all the time corgi pics. Oh, fire, you nugget. Nuggets. Nuggets. Just fell off the map. Doing something I love. Using my... Oh, crap. Oh. Man, this guy's crazy. It just keeps spawning everywhere. Just spawn. Eat. Am I the only one down? Maybe not. Oh, seriously? I'm actually gonna go before I think into being sad. Yeah, just meditate, relax. Focus on your breath. Focus in, focus out. Oh, I got a bunch of assists. I just don't have a lot of kills. That's weird. I'm assuming that's because my light level's lower.
Oh, look at her dog
Aww.
mom.
Our cargo. Oh, how is he immune? Come on. This raid is ridiculous.
Have a good night. Please relax, take a deep breath, and calm yourself. Do some good thinking about corgis. They're wonderful de-stressors. Oh my god, this baby's so
Imagine
cute.
petting a corgi. How cute a corgi is. How do we beat this?
You see this baby? Precious. Precious little being.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you die, you come
Hey,
up with a
cover
precious
King Fergie.
Watch that debris.
Alright, I got the relic. Cover me. Oh, freaking heck. Son of a... Do we just have to carry him from side to side? Is that what we're supposed to do?
You wanna see Precious baby?
Oh.
Such a cuter baby than my brother's baby.
Yeah, they're good. Nephew, niece. Hard to tell. It's got an orange cap, so I'm gonna say guy.
I'm
But
guessing niece because he said I finally got a picture of her, but I don't know if he meant like through his sister or whatnot.
oh, someone left. No. That's
Baby
weird.
niece. Baby niece. It's
Baby
normal.
niece. Oh, nice.
Baby niece have a name. Right now it's just baby niece toe beans because baby niece is like a cinnamon bun.
Good night, scares. Sleep well. This match is so hard.
Arabella, that's cute. I've heard that one before.
Right?
Better than some names I've heard. Not to call anyone out for bad names, but Lamangelo and Arangelo really need to have a talk with their parents. And their ET.
Well, it's A, B, C, D, and C, D, A, B. Yeah. It's A, B, C. A, B, C, E, D is the name of the baby. And it's by, it's by a famous couple. I can't think of the name of the moment.
Watch yourself.
Oof. I hear some evil laughing. So I was like, I'm muted.
Oh my god. You're gonna gain your first hit crit. You need to take a step down for a second there. We can call it critical strike? Or like what's the nickname here?
No, you're just gonna get critted by the kid.
If it's a
That's what's
female,
gonna happen.
No, you should
Rated
name it
on
Crystal.
balls.
If it's a female, that way you can just call her Crit. Just all the time. Don't
Oh,
even tell her
man.
that her name's Crystal. Just call her Crit her whole life. And then she'll finally learn one day her name is Crystal.
that's a lot of thing to do, babe.
Listen, alright? I'm just trying to come up with decent ways. Alright? We can do this. Nickname is Die. Rude. You could say Die is for Diana, though. Like, listen, this could be a thing. You could do this. Name one child Diana, one child Crystal, and just give them all Crit, Die, like all these weird gamer nicknames, and they'll never know. I mean, unless they turn out to be like
Gamers.
yeah. Then we have the shitty
You're struggling
situation.
there for a second.
Listen, I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, are you freaking kidding me? Should've just ran. No, because you get crit, you die. I just named her Japanese maid, because that's normal. I mean, can't say yes to that, and I can't say no. It's not normal in America, I guess. I mean, I never knew someone to be such a weeb, but between you and Sam, Rick really takes the cake there. Gotta name their kid after it. Or just name the kid Japanese. That's stuff.
Alice is a nice name. I really like, shoot, what was it? I was talking to, my old coworker's name was Olivia, but her nickname was, oh my god, you got me, you're terrible. No, her name was Olivia and her nickname was Livs, and I absolutely love the
Should've got
nickname
me.
Livs.
Oh! No. Why could you recognize Blair's Shurigami name? That's terrible.
I mean, good luck, Lyrics. I'll be here probably.
Gotta get up at 9.
Have a
Yeah.
good night. I get
Thank
that,
you for
that
dropping
you
in.
would be up at 9. I
You
gotta
make
be
my
up
day.
At 7.
Seriously.
Killing myself.
I can't tell you how much of a crappy mood I was in earlier. Until you and
True.
King hopped in. I mean, Sam makes my day,
I do not.
but she doesn't love me enough to continue to make my day. Oh, come on, seriously. Just trying to kill this guy. He's like, nope. Good luck with that. Oh, he's got a shield back. He's got a shield back.
He wasn't sad particularly. He was hangry because he wasn't eating food when he should have been.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't really have much of a breakfast, lunch, and dinner until I ate dinner. So. Oh, seriously? Oh, crap. Seriously? Oh, dang. Oh, seriously? Is that King? Is King still alive? No, King's dead. Too bad I can't revive you, King, right now from where I'm at.
You gotta say goodbye to Lyrics.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, I get pretty angry.
Goodbye.
Hangry. Hungry Hulk. Come in. What do you say bye to Lyric?
Yeah.
The blip. The blip. Is the blips from? Okay, I can respawn.
Cool. Dog is gonna be so heavy.
He's heavy. Needs to have a couple. Oh. the heck am I supposed to go to? Oh. Okay. What's that? No, I did not see anything about big toes. Because big toes don't lie. Another brother can't deny when you're looking at
Bye, Lyric. Have a good night. Sleep well.
Have a good night. Thank you. That's what mods are good for. That's what good girlfriends are for. Be
That
your
is
mod.
a lie, but I will take it.
How's that a lie?
Because you don't have to be a girlfriend to hop in and say good day.
That's true. Oh, who's this?
I can't resolve right now.
I'm just here for the loot. Why you have to be such? Oh, he just died over there. It's crazy. Just dance.
Your nose all pink from
I can dance if you want to. Catch you later, Lyric. I hope you have a good life, because I'm never gonna see you again.
Rude.
My Discord is blowing up on my phone. Oh man, my caffeine. Where is it?
Put your wiener away, dog.
Wiener. You say I got the wiener.
I can't.
He's not a wiener
What do you
dog.
want?
Oh, my bad. I just did up times instead of up time. I've been doing 2 hours and 43 minutes. I might make a switch to Monster Hunter. Hey King, what else you got? You in Benson?
I'm on 2 4.
Go.
It's getting late. It's almost midnight.
Sorry, you cut off for a second.
It's almost midnight.
That wasn't too sure.
It's almost midnight, babe.
Yeah, I know it's almost midnight, but I was asking King.
I know, but I'm trying to tell you, and have you acknowledge it, not just stare.
Okay. I acknowledge that it's almost midnight because I'm looking at the time. This says 11:46.
Because you should probably go to bed if you want to get on a regular sleep schedule.
Now you want to go down sleep schedule.
I have to work at 8 a.m., so yeah, I want a normal sleep schedule right now.
Had to get back on. Well, welcome back. That was short-lived. Trying to decide. Oh my goodness, he's gonna add. Hey, you gonna get it? Are you sure you're gonna be able to get it? Cause I can get it right here.
I know you can't. But did it work earlier when you did it? No.
It did. I played it. I'm pretty sure it did. I just don't have the music up very loud. My dog's putting it open. He must be tired. A doggo's tired. Thanks, babe. Got it. Thanks for the song, Bert. What's your favorite lyric? Oh crap, I'm about to die. Oh, guess what language they're speaking in? I'll try. Oh crap. Still trying to figure out what song it is. Made in what language? Sounds French, almost. Would that be right if I said French? Ooh, that's wrong. I don't know, my other thought would either be Chinese or just Japanese, because that's what I'm leaning towards right now. It's Y varying language? Oh, wow. Okay. What? No, I got that. But I didn't know why Varian had their own like song and language, right? That just throws me off.
I'm about to eat your ears. What are you doing? You're not a cat. Get off my
I mean,
desk.
that's like saying they're gonna sing Elvish, which is like, you know, original language of Lord of the Rings, you know?
Can I fucking get some help with this dog?
No, why? Because
Because
he's
I don't
attacking you?
understand this bullshit that's happening here.
Doo-doo. Exactly, I love it. Oh crap. That's the wrong button. Oh crap. Like that. Alright. I have to go all the way back down. Great.
Oh my god, Maple!
What?
Do you not see him?
Yeah. Oh, he's standing near your laptop. What the
No.
flip?
Buddy, baby, what's up?
He wants all your attention.
I was giving him attention.
I guess he just wants to stand there? I don't know. Oh, it sounds like we're playing now. It's kind of hard to help this guy over there.
What?
Hit! Don't run away. There you got it. Ooh, supercharged. Good night for real. I was gonna leave you with a fire force. Do it! Why not? Freaking jelly. I need someone to play something that uplifting. Love me's. Why did you guys die?
The opening
Alright.
or the ending one?
Opening. And it's pretty good, but the
That's about which one you want.
don't pick the Miss Green Apple or whatever, because if you do, they just copyright strike my video on YouTube. So, oh, he did it.
Maple!
Thanks, Lyric.
Stop it! What do you want? My laptop is lots of
We just talk about the dead bodies hanging.
dog right now.
Yeah. I don't know. He's pretty active for some reason. You think after all the walks he's taken, and I just saw the WAOK.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you for saying the
Yeah,
words
that
on
was great. Don't pick who? Uh-oh. No, you're good, Lyric. You got the right one.
It's trying to eat my fingers. I don't understand this.
That's the right one. Because I don't think they block it as much on this one. We'll find out. Yeah, hey King, I'm gonna give this my last mission, and then I'm gonna head out for the night. Oh, this is all English version almost. Unless they had this. I don't remember this being the OP version.
Forever doomed to just be a corgi's step stool.
What?
I'm forever doomed to be the corgi's step stool.
Oh yeah. I mean, you need a step stool for yourself, so Corgi is your step stool. Ooh, I like that. That was fun. Except you poison the air around me.
Down. There we go. Go.
Oh, freak this night. Been holding on to my ultimate, but might rip second. Come on. Oh, nice. Kingdom Hearts. Way to go, babe. You my DJ now? Mod and DJ? Yeah, I think hopefully we'll see about the stream. That might, I would appreciate it. You guys have been helping me out so much getting towards affiliate. It's not been funny. Oh, once I have so many ideas, I need to do better. I get more ideas. Alright, cool. I just had to stand there. I'm scared. Everything just lit up orange. Oh, grab the middle. Let's see what happens. We stand there. Don't let the rock fall on you though. Ooh, King Fergie. Which sniper rifle do you have? Is that the worm?
The hatred is pure and potent as sunshine, soaking through your skin. Ashley, you know
Ah, my bad.
what you've done. She watched you cut through Crota, Oryx, Omega. And she is eager to return.
Whoa. Alright, we're over here. Hey, King Fergie, come this way.
Huh?
Come up here. Just like a alley. Here, yeah, up this way.
Stream Elements does have something, but they don't have it where I can do moderators to mod.
Oh, stream elements. Oh, yeah, that lets you manage like the media res.
No, it only lets me manage my account. Not anything that I'm on mod.
Oh, well, I think on the PC they have the ground.
They can do the stuff on PC, yes, but on
Yeah,
my
but
phone,
on your
no.
phone, nothing. That sucks. But Stream Elements, I mean Streamlabs does. Cause I don't know many. I feel like the moderation is kind of different. Because a lot of people make it seem like modding was something they only really started getting into in the past like a year or so. To the point that Twitch is like, okay, we gotta fix our mod setup and give them an actual page to mod things. Because there used to be a spot where you can go to my channel and you could mod from there. But they're getting rid of that page by November 6th or 16th. What was that?
My phone.
Doing what though? Ah, cheater. Alright. Ooh, man, I love this gun. Oof. Does 4,000 damage on that night. Hell, not enough to do it. Going up. Going off on a Tuesday. Technically it's Monday. Yeah, it's 12:04 right now. Babe, did I tell you about my Spike? He was like legitimately playing this game for the first time, and he's like, "Oh, the guy stole my kill." And it's like, no, that's what happens in Destiny. You just get an assist. That's all. And everyone does that. It's freaking hilarious. I was like, I get it, but like for Destiny, it's unheard of for anyone to say anything about stealing kills, unless like you're doing a mission, like a daily mission or something, where you need to get solo kills. Different story. Okay, back in the middle. I love this animation, how much like they actually paid into it, babe. Or like if you flipped a coin and then you do something else, the coin actually drops. You're like, whoa. Casting a rain of bullets. Hello. This is a faster way to get up there. Nah. Figures. We gotta go through this side again. There's two. Let's go left first. Oof. Gotta go through this way again. Nice. Thanks for the cleanup. Ooh. Taking. Got some meat. Oh yeah. Take him out. Round him up. Yeehaw! Took his rawhide, but you know. I figured I'd put my own spin on it. I could be like, take him out and yeehaw. Yeet. Yeet. Is that better? Yeet. I feel like that's someone who's not American. It's yeet. Instead of just like yeet. I went the wrong direction, my bad. Unshackle the wizard. Who will? Oh. Which? Oh, you freaking kidding me? Seriously? Some cheating. Oh. Oh, come on. Ah, seriously, I was trying to revive him.
Here she comes.
I've got to hide over here, back here. Hope that this is safe enough. Ah, come on, seriously.
Guardian down.
Come for you guys as soon as I get a chance. Never mind. You guys came back for this week. Gotta take out this wizard. Right in front of you, King. Nice. Ooh. Oh, are you serious? I missed. What, this mission? No. This is just a long mission. I mean, I think we died once, but that's what you're talking about. Oh, they're pretty freaking long. Especially these ones. I'm assuming these are part of the Shadow Keep. But you have to be, I thought you had to have it to play it, but sheep. I think my phone opened itself on by itself. Oh, yes! Last shot. Whew. Nice job, guys. Nice.
Eris. It's over. Ashladun is dead.
It is a relief to hear, but Hashladun's presence is no coincidence. The Hive must have grander ambitions for the Pyramid's influences. Return to me. There is much to discuss.
Dismantle, guys. Dismantle. Come on. Cool. Sweet. And then this was. Oh no! Got out. Alright, thanks, King, for playing with me, man.
Appreciate it, dude. Thanks for the game.
No problem. Hope to catch you another time. D2 Game to Give streaming kicks off tomorrow. Tune in to Bungie Games to Give stream tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. to see players from Destiny Community stream Festival of Lost content for D Game to Give. head there to check up the line out. Okay. Game to give stream. Proceed. Let's see. Wrap this up. Let's see. Just chatting screen. Let's take a look. So, oh, nice. All right. So recently, in the past 7 days, we had equal to give the following. Apparently, I forgot I do not have my camera. So we have equal to give us following. So sweet. I hope we run into him. Monster Hunter guy. Thanks. What's up? I know what's up from Mad Spike. Legend John, he stopped by. That was nice to see him. He also hosted. Thank you. I appreciate it. Just Kayla. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I don't know when you did. I know you just did. Sending Reluck 92. Lock 92. But I gotta say thank you, King, for dropping in, man. Fergie. My man, King Fergie, though. And then OC Lyric, of course, because he's the OC. But, the OG OC. I think I'm pretty close right now, actually, to getting affiliate, and that feels so good. I can't wait. I've been wanting to make some emojis. I'm gonna have some corgi emojis coming out. They're gonna be with dragons, my favorite. You can see that I got Charizard down in my right corner there, and super stoked. Just stoked. All around stoked. So, thanks, King, once again for the love. All right, I'm ready to grind more Destiny, you know, tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, but sometime this week. I got college. I do math, psychology, and I'm usually busy with math through Monday through Friday. So I try to catch streams later. But hey, you know, King, I didn't ask if do you stream. If you're still here, do you stream? Let me know so I can come check out your channel and follow you. If you don't, cool, no problem. I appreciate it. Just love to, you know, show the support and love back. All right. And then have a good night, guys.